we good? Yep. Good evening. Welcome to the Thursday, January 6th, 2022 Planning Board meeting. Call to order now for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all.
All right. So first thing's going to be the election of officers. We're going to be voting for the chair, vice chair, and secretary. Right?
Yeah.
Does anybody want to nominate anybody? In which office do you want to have go first?
Let's do the chair first. Let's go for chair. We can have an open discussion.
I'll nominate Michael LaRue
Okay.
for chair.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion, I guess?
And you will be helped out.
Yeah, okay. All right. All right. Thank you, Dave. All right. Okay. So then we vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Is that 6 or 7?
That's 7.
7?
Yep.
Okay. Super.
Oh, we have to do a roll call for that because the Zoom? Sorry,
Yep.
my bad.
Yep.
Roll call. So we'll do Allison,
Yes.
Amber.
Yes.
All right, Dave,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
and Phil?
Yes.
And I'm yes as well. All right, next is position for vice chair. I mean, I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm going to recommend Dave Andreessen for the vice chair position.
I will second that.
Oh. Okay. So I've been the chairman of this committee up until last year for 5.5 years. I'm very happy to give up the chairperson to you, but I'm more than willing to come on as vice chair. So just
Right.
take that for what it's worth. But
All right. So any further discussion? Okay, guess we'll do a roll call. Allison,
Yep.
Amber,
Yes.
Dave,
I'm going to abstain.
okay, and then Jerry, Paul, sorry,
Yes.
Jerry.
Yeah.
I'm a yes, and Phil.
I'm a yes as well.
All right, there we go.
Thank you.
All right, next is the secretary.
I mean, I'll put my name in the running if you are looking for someone.
Okay, I'll second that.
Who's nominating her?
Well,
She
all
said
right.
she was interested.
I will nominate her.
Okay.
There we go.
I will second.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, roll call. Allison, you're abstaining. Amber?
Yes.
All right, then Dave?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
I'm a yes, and Phil?
Yes.
All right, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, so now introduction of board members. The chair is me, Michael LaRue. The vice chair is Dave Andreessen. And then we have Paul Amatucci, we have Jerry Graybill, we have Phil Roy, and on Zoom we have Allison Herlihy and Amber Fecto. We also have Lee J. Feldman from SMPDC. We have Tammy, our town planner, and Jen McCabe, our code enforcement. I'm sorry, I was looking right at you, and it just wasn't rolling in. So sorry.
You know what they say about payback, right?
It happens. All right, so I'm going to open up the first public comment. This is just for anyone in the town. Yep.
Mr. Chairman, congratulations on the election, members of the board. I'm Ken Wood from Adder Engineering. We actually have the last item on your agenda, but I wanted to talk to you about an item that we've had before you for several meetings, our School Street Solar Project. I know there was some discussion on whether a subdivision was required or not because we had a residential component to that. We've removed the residential component and we'd like to go forward with just the solar portion of it. Those plans were sent to Tammy and Lee J today, and we'll follow up with Lee J and Tammy on procedure, but anything that we can do to help move the project along would be appreciated, and we appreciate your patience and assistance on the project.
Okay.
Other than that, we'll see you for the last item on the agenda.
All right.
All right, no one on Zoom for public comment?
You can actually, that's can probably stay at this point, don't they? Yeah, so we're socially distanced, I think.
Okay, I thought we were over. Okay,
No, I
thank
think
you.
we're good.
Thank you.
No, because Benzo is gonna need to come in
Oh,
here.
they're gonna come in?
Yep,
Okay.
they're gonna need to come in
Yeah,
before you guys.
Don't listen to me then. You're gonna
But
have to.
if they leave before you, then you can
Okay,
stay.
if it
So,
becomes a problem, we'll
Yep.
certainly leave.
Yep.
Thank you.
We'll let you know.
yep.
Thank you.
All right, so now I'll close the public comment and approval of minutes for December 16th, 2021.
I'll move that we accept the minutes as written.
I will second.
I will be abstaining from
Okay.
this.
Further discussion? No?
No.
We'll do a roll call. Allison?
I have to abstain from that. I wasn't at the one.
Okay. And Amber?
I have to abstain as well.
Okay. And then we have Paul?
Yes.
And then Jerry?
Yeah.
I'm a yes.
Yes.
Phil? Yes. Okay, so approval of minutes. All right. And now public hearing. I'm going to open up the public hearing for the preliminary plan major subdivision 377 Diamond Hill Road, R 29-5, Michael and Aaron Sitkowski.
Good evening, Steve Height with Civil Works, and Mr. Sikowski's here as well. Again, we had a sketch review, we had a site walk, we came in for preliminary conversation. You guys had scheduled a public hearing for this. This is the 6-lot subdivision off of Diamond Hill Road. Mr. Sitkowski will be living in the back side over here with comments from planning. Can you guys hear me? Is this working all right?
Mm-hmm.
With planning as well as with the staff, we had made some revisions to the plans. We added the well radiuses to show where the septic and the well would go on the lots.
Grab the microphone and pull it right up to you. Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's what I was asking. Okay, well, let's start again. So we talked about at last meeting was to just show how the leach fields and the septic systems and leach fields and the wells would go on the lots. Remove the boundary area for setbacks on this lot, because this again is one contiguous lot. And really that's it. So not much has changed from what we had talked about last time or the site walk. Mr. Sitkowski has, as we had talked at the last meeting, has met with the abutters, provide them with the information as well, and we'll put the notes on the plan relative to making sure that the wells would be, you'd be putting filtration systems in as well. And that's really it. That's where we're at.
In reviewing the information you submitted from Clearwater Artesian, am I under the understanding they are going to be the contractor for the entire development, or are they just making a recommendation for you?
They actually did they did the wells out front here, so we reached out to them. They may be the guys doing it,
Okay.
but we actually had that note on there as well. So we just wanted you to know that from a well system, they're familiar with it, and we just wanted you guys to make aware that it could be done.
Okay.
Yeah. Crossing the T and dotting the I, like we
Absolutely.
talked last time.
Yep.
Yep.
At the last meeting, you talked with them, provided them information, but you also talked to all the abutters, correct?
So the two abutters right here on the road, yes. So Mike is gone and dropped off the information that we talked about, which was the two reports that we done for the arsenic. and then also talk with the abutter on this side as well, explain what was going on, and he's here, you can talk to that if you'd like, but short answer is yes. He's had the conversation with him.
I'm just assuming, since they're not here, that he was satisfied with the information that was provided. So I know there were some discussions back and forth, so
Yeah.
make sure that issue was.
All right, seeing how there's nothing, oh,
Yeah.
Dave?
Do you have the main road going through there yet? That one road going through there yet?
This here,
Yeah.
name?
No, do you have it in yet?
Oh, no. You got the first 150 feet,
Okay,
and we're gonna continue off the back side of that.
okay, so the first 150 feet of the road is done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's all.
Excuse me, may I ask a question, please?
Yeah, all right.
The fire chief, as I emailed you, is concerned about. The fire chief is concerned about the width of the road coming in, not being wide enough to get the vehicles in, because on the plans, it looks like it's only 20 feet wide. So if you would please address that, and then make a written response, then we can let him know to make sure everything's okay on his end.
Sure, we'll touch base with him.
Yeah,
Yep,
okay.
Not a problem.
All right, no one, oh, Lee J?
Well, just a quick comment on that. I mean, if you can put a turning radius, do you have turning radius software?
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah.
can put yeah, why don't you do that? Just show that, whatever their largest truck body is can make that turn and get in through up to the cul-de-sac and whatnot, with no problem.
Yeah, we have that, we've done that already. So, yeah,
Okay.
we can provide that to you if you want it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Tammy, is that what he was looking for, just to make sure the truck could get around?
Yeah, the truck needs to be able to get around in the cul-de-sac
Yeah,
and also be able to get into the road without stopping people from exiting, should that need to be the case. Worst case scenario, everybody's got to get out, he's got to get in. That's what he was concerned about.
yeah. So there's a paved area plus shoulders on the road. So
Yeah.
he has enough width. We'll confirm that with him as well.
Yep,
But
okay.
there's plenty of width there. It's your road standards. It's the width and so forth.
All right, so I'm going to close this public hearing. And then we're opening a new one for conditional use, Annie Cannon, AKA Revive Acupuncture and Wellness, 70 Worcester Road, tax map R32, lot 17-4, R2 zoning district.
Hi. I don't have a fancy poster, but you guys have my plan. It's pretty straightforward, basically just turning the residential house into a commercial property so I can have my acupuncture practice there. I'm currently practicing in York and just want to move my practice to Berwick. So the short-term plan is just the use of the house for acupuncture and then possibly having a massage therapist on board as well. And then a little bit longer term is the conversion of the garage space into like a small group one-on-one yoga and fitness space. The plan is not to have like a hustle and bustle busy yoga studio, really just like a space to do one-on-one or small group fitness. I've spoken with police chief and fire chief and making sure everything is up to code with them. Been working with Jen on code as well. Pretty much the only major change in the short term is just adding an accessibility ramp off of the back deck on the exterior of the house. And then interior, just standard exit signs, better exterior lighting, fire extinguishers, simple stuff like that. Obviously, we can't do anything to the driveway right now because the ground is frozen, but in the spring, I do plan to widen the driveway, regrade it, possibly pave it, or at least pave a part of it for parking, but definitely pave it in the long term when funds allow for that. In terms of the garage, I know that I need to add a second form of egress, which I'm planning to do once we start construction on that. Again, that's a little bit more longer term, but hopefully within the next year. And that's pretty much it.
Is it okay if I say something?
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Chair, just to let you know, Annie will also need to, there's a doorway leading into a bathroom, a doorway leading into her therapy room. Those doorways are also gonna need to be widened to meet the ADA
Okay.
compliance too. I know that she already knows that, but it wasn't stated, so.
Okay.
I do have a contractor that
Yep.
I've discussed that with, yeah, thank
Yep.
you.
And I have a comment. When we were there, did the site, what we also talked about outside lighting.
That's been discussed as well.
Yep.
She's aware.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. If there's anyone in the public, this is the, if you have a public to something to say, this is the time to say it. So if you guys have a comment, just come on up and state your name and address, and then this is just going to be stating stuff, and then when we get into old business, that's when we can address things.
Okay.
So this is just like you just say your statements and
Our
then.
concerns?
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for the opportunity to do so. I appreciate it. My name is Ellen LaRoche. This is my husband, John. We've lived on the property abutting this property for a little more than 16 years. And we moved here. We bought almost 12 acres of land because we wanted to move to a quiet, residential, peaceful neighborhood to raise our kids and put down roots. And, you know, hopefully in the long run, if we were going to expand the property at all, we were going to expand it to include houses for the kids. That being said, I'm very concerned about a commercial property being allowed next door to my quiet property. I'm not opposed to her business at all. I'm just opposed to the fact that it's a commercial property, and should she decide that she doesn't have enough space at that property down the road and she sells, it's still gonna be a commercial property, and how is that gonna affect my property values in the long run? In the shorter scheme of things, the particular business that's going in next door and the things that will change, I'm concerned, if I may, let me see, I'm concerned about the traffic that's gonna go up and down this quiet neighborhood street and the driveway that also passes right along the front of my house. My living room windows face this entire property. My large enclosed front porch faces this entire property. So to see a parking lot while I'm sitting there relaxing doesn't feel good to me, or to any of us for that matter. So if it's a one-on-one business, acupuncture, massage, the garage is gonna become a one-on-one training area. She did just say small fitness. That, I guess, is where the 6 to 10 parking spaces come in, but that concerns me. If there's gonna be paving over there, it's on kind of a hill that downgrades towards my property and the creek. The creek has had history of overflowing, so I'm afraid that that will affect my property as well. My property used to actually be, her property used to be part of my property. It was a family-owned, big piece of land. And when we purchased from Karen Lozay, she deeded a section to her brother. And that is the section that we're talking about tonight. So there's a pass-through as well. I don't know how.
Yeah, I remember seeing it on the sidewalk. I know what.
Yeah, so I don't know how that comes into play at all. We have, when the land has flooded, we have had to go up to their driveway and come back through because the whole front of our land floods. Granted, it hasn't happened in quite a few years because the drainage problem on the whole town of Berwick was fixed. So that's kind of a long shot there, but, so again, the parking area right across from my living room windows, I'm wondering if a barrier has been discussed or if there's a plan B for a parking lot.
You mean like a barrier as in like screening, like for
Yeah,
a fence?
like a fence or hedge or something that would mask those parked cars if this does actually happen.
Okay.
So that I am still looking at a beautiful green space. The way that you guys have been on the site walk, we were out of town when that happened. I wish that I could have been there. Unfortunately, I couldn't. The lighting that we are discussing for outside the property, I'm wondering how bright that will be because the way the houses are situated.
They have to comply to, it has to be a downward facing. It's not
So it-
going to be going onto your
so
property.
it won't shine?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
And then the hours of operation also concern me, from 8 a.m. in the morning till 7 p.m. at night. You know, I come home from work, I want to relax. I don't want cars going up and down and making all kinds of noise. I don't want people. The noise travels very easily across these fields that we live on. In the summertime, you can hear neighbors out in their backyards, and, you know, I mean, people live, and that's what we do. But to have the traffic and that kind of stuff, I don't feel good about. And then, how big does the business expect to be? Will she be renting space to other people? Will there be classes in the field? That kind of stuff. There's also a shed at the front of the property. Is there a plan for that? The expansion of the driveway. I know we just talked about, you know, the weather, and the fire chief's letter says sometime. So is it a requirement that the front of the driveway be bigger? Or is it just, it has to be done at some point?
So when it's time, if I could speak on a lot of this for you.
Right.
If you
Yep.
want.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just wait until it's in old business and then we can cover this.
And then lastly, I guess the concern with if the driveway is widened, I didn't see anything mentioned during in the paperwork for the site walk, but do you guys know that there is a burial ground at the front of that property? It's old burial ground. It's like the Wentworth family. And the stones have sunken into the ground, so it is hard to see unless you know it's there. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that as well. And, you know, that's the list of, but that's the laundry list, I guess, and that's what you guys wanted to know right now, right? I mean,
Yep.
again, my major concern is that I own the 12 acres. I've raised my family there. We come back, my kids are away at school. These are my kids back here. They go away to school and they still want to call Berwick home, you know? And I would love to enjoy that peace and quiet. The last thing I want is for her to sell the property once it's commercially zoned and end up with a grow field for somebody else who wants another type of wellness.
She's not getting it zoned different. The zone that she's in is allowing this to happen.
Yeah.
So to say that it's a commercial property, it's not
So it won't
really,
be-
it's still a house.
Okay,
right?
so
I mean,
it won't be zoned as a commercial business.
well, it's a business, but it's a home business.
What happens if she decides to sell at some point?
So we'll touch base with that in old business.
Okay.
I just want to let you know that if you have any more concerns, now's the time, because when we do talk about it and you get your answers, you will not be allowed at that time to talk more.
Right.
And you'll have to go with what we say, just to give you a heads
Okay.
up. So if you have anything else, now's the time, but
Yep.
we can't answer them.
Okay, so that's a really long list. I don't think there's anything I could add to it. I just want to impress upon you how
Well-
concerned I am, and he may
If-
have something
Yep,
else he
okay.
wants
I
to
just
add.
want to thank the board, you know, and thank
Can you
you
go
for-
to the mic?
Yeah, you just gotta go to the mic, sorry.
I just want to thank you guys for being here and listening. You know, I have no problem with anybody starting a business, but this is a residential area. You know, it's a community. You know, the auto body place that's a couple doors down, you know, he bought that like 15 years ago and it was already there. You know, I've said hi to Annie before, but I don't know her personally. If I was gonna buy a piece of property and put a business in there, guess what? I would go talk to you and see if you had any, you know, how do you feel about this? Never approached, never knew anything, you know, from her, you know? When I look at this here on the first page, you know, there's a lot of uncertainties. It says here, one bedroom will be used for acupuncture treatment. Another one be possibly used for massage room, possibly, you know? Who's to say she can't put other people in there to do other jobs, you know? Again, the existing garage will be turned into one-on-one training, you know? Excuse me. She's been known to do different, you know, yoga classes at the brewery here. You know, 16 people drinking over in Summersworth, I guess there's another brewery over there. You know, people drinking. Who's to say this isn't gonna come to our community? You know, she said she talked to the police department, you know. You could give anybody the right answers at that time, you know. Say what they wanna hear. I don't know. You know, I have a real estate license, and I understand about mixed use, you know. I could see, right, if this property, if she lived there, you know, like granted, You know, give her permission. She's living there, she wants a business in her house. She's a neighbor to this property. So what goes on at this business, she's not always gonna be there. You know, I just want you guys to take that into, excuse me, consideration.
Okay.
You know, all in all, I really don't want it there.
Okay, thank you.
You know, thank you.
And the only other thing I wanted to say about it myself, if I could, is
Yep.
that you guys know what the site looks like, so you know her property in relation to our property.
Yep.
And it seems as though everything happens on our side of the property. You know, like the parking area could be abutting her backyard, not my backyard. Just for an example. And that's the last thing I wanted to say besides thank you all.
Okay.
Am I allowed to respond now, or do I wait?
You cannot.
You gotta wait till old business, then we can touch base on all of these. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? No? Okay, seeing how no one, we're gonna close that public hearing, and now we're gonna move on to old business preliminary plan, major subdivision, 377 Diamond Hill Road.
Errata.
Yeah, so, I mean, nothing really has changed from the public hearing, so. Tammy, do you have anything to add for this?
I do not. The biggest concern that I heard was the arsenic from the abutters, and I also have the ransom report. And in reviewing the ransom report, not that I understood all of it, but I did understand quite a bit of it, and a lot of it is because of the ground, the natural occurring arsenic in the property.
Okay.
There are ways to abbreviate it, and I believe Mr. Sikowski had agreed that he was going to work with the people that purchased the property to be able to alleviate some of the arsenic issues.
Okay.
I think, there he is, okay. I didn't want you to think I was ignoring you.
Yeah, we have arsenic in our order.
Really?
Lee J., do you have anything on 377?
No, I do not.
All right.
Sorry, can I just add, I know during a couple meetings back, he had mentioned, writing in some type of clause where no soil was displaced from each lot. Was that added in?
Yeah, so what's happening is the material is not going to leave the property. That's correct. It's on the plan there. Yep.
Okay. And are we doing any actions today on this, or?
You can if you want.
And that would be,
We'll have the findings of fact done up based on what your conditions are, and
Have we
It'll be
found it complete?
yeah, you've got to find it complete first.
Okay.
And then if you want to condition anything. The agenda was a little busy today. I didn't have time to get to all of it.
okay.
I think with what we've heard over several of these things, I think as far as we're concerned, our questions and that sort of thing, I think from my point of view, moving on to finding the application complete is probably appropriate now. So I would make a motion that we find this complete.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Yeah, Dave?
So, just recently coming back on the planning board, I am familiar with the property, and I'm familiar with what you guys are doing with it. I think it's a great thing. But at this time, I will not be voting. I'll be abstaining from voting on this, because this is my first planning board meeting, as a member of the board again, so just to let you know.
Sure, thank you.
Okay.
Tammy, was the issue of the road resolved to your satisfaction, or does that
As
need?
long as he gets with the fire chief and the road is then changed on the plan, that
Do
will
we
be
want to
fine.
put
That
that as
can
a
be a
condition
Yeah,
condition.
why
for
don't we
approval? I think
amend the motion
Just make that be a
to
condition
add
of
that
approval.
fire chief must give final approval based on the turnarounds for the road.
Well, you're just accepting the application first for complete.
Right,
Yes.
then we'll do
As a condition
conditions.
approval.
Yeah,
Right.
we'll add that to the conditions, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll do a roll call vote to find the application complete. We'll start with Allison
Yes.
and Amber.
Yes.
Dave is abstaining. Paul
Yes.
and Jerry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
And I'm a yes as well.
Yeah, but you're an alternate, sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Yep. I also think, was it Amber? I'm sorry. We have a full board today, so it's rare.
All good.
All right, so it's found complete. So now is conditions and final approval.
Yeah, I would make that motion that,
With the findings of fact.
with the findings of fact, and that we include the comments of the fire department relative to their satisfaction with the road and the turnarounds and the distances and the egress for other vehicles during a situation.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, seeing as there's no further discussion, we'll do a roll call vote. Allison?
Yes.
Okay. Dave is abstaining. Paul?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
And I am a yes. So there's that.
The findings of facts will be ready as soon as they get the plans all redone and get me the information.
Okay,
So they'll be on the agenda as soon as possible.
okay.
Do we want us to come back for that meeting, or is that just for signature?
It's up to you. If you present it for signature, you can take it with you that night to get it recorded.
Yep.
If not, I don't mind holding on to it until the following Monday.
Okay.
Not a big deal.
No problem. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll stay in touch, Steve? Okay.
Okay, next on old business is conditional use Annie Cannon, AKA Revive Acupuncture and Wellness.
I tried to take notes so I could address everything, but I probably forgot some stuff. I do really apologize for not reaching out sooner.
Take care.
To be perfectly honest, I just didn't know protocol for all of this, if I was like supposed to do that, or, because I knew that by adding the list of abutters, it would come up here. I didn't know like legally what I was allowed to do, but I do apologize for not reaching out and discussing with you sooner. But like you mentioned, I live on the other side of this property, so I also love that Worcester Road is a quiet, residential, peaceful road, and I have no intention of making it like a crazy, busy business. Really, like a few cars in the parking lot at the time is what I'm going for. Like, no, I'm not gonna have like 10, 20 cars coming in and out at all hours of the day. And I'm more than happy to discuss, like, that parking area was just like, that's a thought because it just seemed to make the most sense, but I'm happy to discuss parking in a different area, if that works with the lay of the land. Like, I'm completely fine with that. I'm also happy to put in fencing, put up some nice landscaping along that property line. Like, I don't want my business to be disruptive to anyone else, including my own house that's right there. In terms of the hours of operation, I put 8 to 7 because that was kind of what I envisioned as like maximum hours of operation. In reality, right now I'm working 4 days a week. My projected hours for the new place are 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tuesday and Friday, and 10 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Wednesday and Thursday. So it's not like I'm gonna be there like all day, every day. with lots of cars coming in and out. I had the idea of possibly holding, I'm a yoga teacher as well, so possibly holding some outdoor classes on the lawn, like you mentioned. And I'd be more, like, again, that's not like an everyday thing. It's not even a once a week thing. It'd maybe be like a couple times over the summer. But I'd be also happy to like draw up something that says like.
All right, hold on. Jen, do you have something?
Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chair, if I
Yep.
can.
Yes, please.
There's nothing in her plan stating that she can hold classes outside. It's not in her original plan
Okay,
at all.
I can nix
Okay.
that. That's fine.
So if she wanted to do that, she would have to do an amendment and come back.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
No,
you.
it's not necessary.
Okay.
We'll nix it.
Okay.
Not worth the hassle.
Yep.
And then just like the unknowns about the massage, I just don't have a massage therapist lined up. I don't have anyone else lined up. That's just kind of my like ultimate vision for the space is to maybe have a massage therapist, maybe have an athletic trainer there. But yeah, again, it's like, I do want to maintain the peace of Worcester Road. I don't want it to be a crazy business that's going to draw a lot of traffic on the road. I have a dog. I like to walk the dog on the road. I like to run on the road. I don't want it to be a busy road. So I think I probably forgot something, but.
Were you aware of the burial site?
I didn't know for certain that that was a burial site. I had noticed like some of the markers there, so I kind of assumed. But widening the driveway, I would not cut into that space at all as far as I know. I don't think the driveway needs to be widened like to the point that it would get up into that area.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
You really need to be careful around that burial site. You might want to check with the Cemetery Commission with the
Okay.
state of Maine.
Sure.
When Annie's done, I'd like to address all the other questions whenever you, Mr.
Yep.
Chair.
Yep.
Okay?
Now it's good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, I'm gonna go up here.
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna talk to you guys, but I'm also gonna talk to the family that's concerned behind.
Yep.
So sorry, but I'm going to address
no,
all of you
that's
guys
okay.
at once. Hi, guys, how are you? I'm Jenny McCabe. I am the code enforcement officer here in town. I do all the business licensing here in town. Have you received a copy of the plan?
I downloaded it.
So you have it?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
I think I have the whole thing.
So I'm going to do the best I can. You're not going to be able to ask me questions or comment on it. If I forget something, though, I would like you to address that. Okay? All right. So the shed that's lower on the property, there's no plan for that right now. You guys know that when we did our site walk, that specific question came up. It was asked. There's no plan for that. Lighting on site. So every commercial business, or we would require it really for a home occ too, but mostly commercial businesses in this town, there needs to be exterior lighting. And the exterior lighting, you know, it can get a little crazy. We have a lighting ordinance and we stick to it. So you will never see the bulb of the light. That's pretty much what our ordinance reads. There's more to it than that. All outside lighting needs to shine down and it needs to be covered. That's residential exterior lighting too. You don't see that a lot, but that's what our code states. So you should never be able to look over on that property with the night sky. You should be able to still see that dark, great night sky that you see now. It should not be lit up over there like a baseball stadium. If that ever comes up, you are welcome to call me and I will drive up there any time of night and look at it. And that problem will be fixed for you right away. So who says that she can't hold more classes there and drink? I say she can't do that. This is a business that is run on a small scale. Unfortunately, service businesses, which is what we classify this for, sorry guys, you can hold in the R3 zone with conditional use. And that's why Annie Cannon's here today, to get conditional use on this property. There's nothing in our land use that states that she can't have a business there. I do see your concerns. Me and the fire chief did walk the property. Well, it must have been last week, right? Yeah. We did have some concerns of security on the property. you're gonna want the outside lighting, exterior lighting for that security purpose. That's just to protect her business. But it's also to protect all the neighbors in all the neighboring houses as well, because it is a commercial business. Let me see here. Widening the driveway. The reason why she has to widen the driveway is because it is a life safety issue for our fire department. Our fire department needs to be able to go into, our fire department needs to be able to drive down certain roads and driveways. And they need to be able to get in there, they need to be able to turn around, and sometimes multiple fire trucks. So she is going to be required to widen the road as soon as the ground unfreezes. It has to be at least 20 feet wide. So just going forward, just so you know that. Our planning board's pretty great. Some of them are pretty new. They're gonna require her on their fact finding to screen the property anyways where it's commercial. If it didn't come up, me and Tammy would have suggested that to them anyways. At no time should you see the parking lot over there, should you be able to, really, she should screen that. We talked to her about it, she's aware of it. I don't think you're gonna have a problem with that. And then fitness classes. So fitness class, she can have one-on-one training, she can have small group fitness. That's what she is applying for. If it becomes more than a small scale, she would have to come back to the planning board for more approvals at that time. You would be notified as an abutter, and you would be able to come and you would be able to speak on the behalf of that. You can tell them how it's going at that time. If at any time you think it's just wild and crazy over there, call me. I don't care what time of day. I'll drive up there and check it out. I have no problem doing that. I don't think you're going to see that. I think it's going to be a small, pretty, quiet, pretty little business for you. If it's not, we can take care of it from there. I think that's it. Is there any more questions I didn't address for you?
So with the small fitness, like how small are we?
You gotta talk in the mic.
Come on up.
Yeah, you gotta come on up and talk in the mic.
You can come hang with me.
It's for everyone else here,
I'll hold it.
on.
So my concern, I guess, is small fitness, like how small is small and how many cars does that mean extra? Because when you say one-on-one fitness, that's, the people working in the building and the person that has the appointment and maybe somebody coming for the next appointment. But when you say group fitness class, that to me says 5 or 6 cars right there, at least maybe 10. So that, in that respect, that's what small fitness is, still 10 people, I think. You know what I mean?
Have a seat.
Thank you.
Annie?
I didn't really have an exact number for it. My idea of small would be like 4 or 5. But again, I'm so open to discussing this with you. Like if that's too much, I can keep it to 2-3 people. It doesn't, none of these, like, I'm not completely married to the idea of like having to have a larger quantity of people. It's more that I wanted the space because I can offer more to my clients with a larger space. So yeah, I don't really have an exact number, but like 4 or 5 is kind of where my head was at.
Plus, also, you had mentioned that you were interested in, that you would be agreeable to maybe moving that parking area so that it would be screened from that other property, so that if there were additional cars, they wouldn't be visible to the other people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Happy to discuss that.
Also, too, we didn't talk about drainage on the road. So there's a drainage problem out there. When we went out for our site walk, Jerry will tell you that, and the board will tell you it's pretty wet out there. It's the first thing I noticed when I arrived on site. We're not going to let Annie just go there and throw down pavement on the driveway. We're going to make her put in proper drainage and collect that runoff somehow, whether she has to ditch it or what we require her to do. That's something that we'll talk to her about when the time comes. If forever you should have a drainage problem from that runoff, let me know. We'll take care of it. Okay? I think that's it for me.
Jenny?
I've said enough.
I had a question I don't know if this is in your wheelhouse or not, but so obviously, we want successful businesses to come in, profitable businesses. So as far as the number of cars for that area, what is our current ordinance for that? Somebody could have a party with 20 cars. somebody could have a disruptive group.
Oh,
So
it's me.
Yeah.
before we kind of have Annie just nix her plans or limit herself, I really just want everyone to kind of be clear on what the current, abilities are for that area.
Just because this is a commercial business and it's not a home occ, it's really going to depend on how many parking spots she has at that time and what the board will allow, but that has nothing to do with me at this time. The only thing I can do is take the recommendation or the findings of fact for the board and put them into play when she's open.
Okay. Because I'm just wondering, if that's something that's going to be harder to kind of go back and expand, whereas if you started larger, it might be easier to downscale if there's an issue.
If she was to put a parking lot on site other than where it is currently, she would have to come back to the board anyways. It's a site, it's an amendment to her plan. So if she moves the parking lot to increase it at all, she'll have to come back and talk to you guys anyway.
Lee J. had.
Right?
Ms. Cannon, what is your desired end state? I mean, if you had it your way, your business at that location, how many employees are you, do you have hour slots? What does it look like for you at your desired end state for the business?
Yeah, so my, currently I have the capacity to treat 2 people at once. So, and I don't even have I don't need my car to be in the parking lot because I live right next door. So at most, if I'm there, that's both rooms going at once. That's 2 cars in the lot. If I were to have a massage therapist that's there at the same time as me, I can only use 1 room. They can use 1 room. That's 3 cars because of their doing massage. If I have a personal trainer in the garage with their client, with me, with 2 clients, that's 5 cars, or 6 cars if me, massage therapist, clients, trainer. That's like full capacity. I can't be doing acupuncture and treating and doing small group fitness at the same time. So maybe a massage therapist with a client and me doing yoga or fitness in the garage. Did that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is probably no more than a handful of cars at a time is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
All right.
To be honest, my original plan was a much larger scale. Not at this location, at the new development in the Edge. With finances and the pandemic that is never ending, I decided that smaller scale is what makes more sense for me, and it's what I want to do. I don't want to have a full yoga studio plus acupuncture. I realized I bit off more than I could chew when I was thinking about that originally. And really, I can financially sustain myself on a smaller scale and have a better quality of life and not be overwhelmed trying to juggle so many things at once.
And I think you said earlier you're amenable to either planting shrubs or putting in a fence or whatever. And it sounds like you're very agreeable and reasonable. Can you guys discuss it and come to a common agreement and establish a good neighborly relationship on what right looks like? I mean, we're all reasonable people here.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
All right. Lee J, do you have anything?
Well, I was just going to suggest that it sounds like things are still somewhat fluid. The board certainly has the right to do what they want. It might make sense for Annie and Jen to get together and maybe look at redesigning the parking lot location and coming up with a number, or the board can certainly condition the application, the approval on no more than 10 cars, whatever that number may be. The landscaping issue, you could, if you chose to, condition her on planting 6-foot evergreen shrubs along the front of the parking area so that it screens the neighbors' property. It just sounds like we're talking a lot about this stuff, but you want to really nail it down because things still seem to be somewhat fluid. Yep. I would also like to just address for the board, I know the neighbor did bring up the burial ground, and I think that certainly is sacred property, or area. If there's any way to be able to identify the outer boundaries of that, the setback from any construction work around that burial area is 25 feet under state law. MRSA, Maine Revised Statutes, Title 13, Chapter 83, Section 1371-A, says construction cannot occur within 25 feet of a boundary of a burial area. So if it's a possibility to identify where that boundary is, then you'll know you can't come within 25 feet. Of course, just being a sacred area, you'd probably want to have more of a setback, but the state law only says 25 feet. I'm all set.
Okay. So screening. I guess screening, covering the parking lot area with the arborvitae's like Lee J, that would work for you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So I would suggest, right, at this particular juncture, that it's probably, as Phil had mentioned, it's probably a good idea for you to have that conversation with the abutters separately and come to some conclusion, go through this so they feel a sense of confidence about what's going on and that sort of thing. And then that can be part of our process here for the next time. That's what I'm thinking.
Yep, I agree with Paul.
Seems reasonable.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Would that be like a conditional, or is that like I have to like come back for, like, so basically now that I've purchased the property, I'm currently paying rent on a space and I have a mortgage. So if I can't start business sooner rather than later, that's a huge financial hit to me and my business if I'm basically paying double mortgages. So my fear is I don't want to have to push this out like a couple weeks, like a month. So I'm just wondering if there's any possibility to condition the approval on having a discussion with the abutters and agreeing to.
Would you be able to make it back in 2 weeks with everything answered and all these questions and dealing with the abutters and just make it in 2 weeks? I know that's not ideal for you, but you would be able to?
Yeah, if that's what I need to do, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I think that these questions that the abutters have, which are pretty valid questions.
For sure.
I think that you could just hash them out within these 2 weeks. 2 weeks is a lot of time, and I think that within 2 weeks.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So that's why I wanted to really get some clear information for Annie here on what her actual rights are on that property, because I think it is very nice to have a conversation, but if that shouldn't come to an exact meeting of the minds, that could delay you out weeks and weeks. So before you leave tonight, I would love for somebody just to be able to tell kind of like what the maximum is for you to ask for, and really give you a clear understanding of that.
I mean, as Jen said, we would be setting the maximum. So, I mean, it's a commercial business. So, what's the at-home business standards for traffic?
20 trips a day.
20
so
trips a day.
10 cars coming in, 10 cars leaving. But this is a commercial, it's not home.
Right. So
Right.
you would expect at least 2 to 3 times that amount, I would assume.
I would
I would
it
hope
all
so.
depends
I
on
mean-
parking lot size.
Yes.
But she can have as many clients come in and out as she wants to under commercial business.
Okay.
So
I mean, if you wanted 10 spots, you design your parking lot for 10 spots and screen it, you'll get your 10 spots.
Okay.
We're not here to discuss what you can't have. This is our ordinance. This is what we go by. If that's what it says, we'll do it like that.
Okay.
And that's it.
I think it would help Annie if you had like everything you wanted, cut and dry, black and white.
Yep.
Okay.
Instead of being like, oh, I'm good with doing this or this.
Yep.
It's really
I just
your
wanna make
business.
it
You need to tell us what you want and what fits in. We
Yeah.
just tell you if it fits or not, and if it doesn't, then we just change it. So
Okay.
if it fits, you got it.
Okay.
Okay. So at that point, we'll wait for now. Is that consensus until next meeting, and then we'll hash this all out and find it complete and everything like that?
Okay.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now we're old business, site plan review, 20 Sullivan Street, tax map U004, lot 146, VC and SCI zone in the Village Overlay District, Great Falls Construction.
He's next door.
Yeah, I gotta go
Okay,
get.
let's go get him. And then we also, you might want to just grab the
Yep, I'll
other
get
applicant too.
Tina.
Yeah. Okay.
You want me to move them next door?
Yes, please.
You guys want to go next door and talk real quick? They're over there if you guys just want to go and talk.
All right, there was one question. I can ask her.
Have a great night, guys. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good evening. Thank you, guys.
Bye, Annie.
Okay. Good time.
Yeah.
How are you? Yep.
Yep, you guys are up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Craig Burtis with Sebago Technics, and I'm here tonight with John Smith from Great Falls Construction. So this is our third meeting with the planning board. The last meeting, we received some preliminary feedback on the full design plans that we had submitted for the edge at Berwick. Since then, we've gone ahead, we've revised the plans based upon staff comments, planning board comments, as well as site walk comments. Really, the only comments at the site walk were from one of the abutters who just wanted additional parking. So we went ahead and added 11 additional parking spaces in this area. So this plan hasn't been updated to reflect that, but the 11 additional parking spaces are right there. So the parking count actually on the latest overall site plan that was submitted in the package that you have still show 286 parking spaces, where that should really be 297 parking spaces. And again, that correction should be made in Lee J's memo to the board. The other changes to the plans included just some slight adjustments to the dimensions of the angled dine-in parking located along the new Main Street. We went back, we looked at the ordinance, and we made sure that the dimensions, we actually made it a little bit, the stall depths a little bit longer. We added underground power and telecommunication utilities to the plans. There's still some coordination effort with Central Maine Power on that. There have been some emails shared with Central Maine Power. Ideally, I want to get them out to the site to walk it, to understand what's going on. And also from a town level, there's a lot going on with power. As you're all probably aware that the town is trying to bring the overhead power here and bring it underground. So there's a lot of moving pieces with power, and there's still a lot of coordination, and that's probably going to be throughout this project with the ongoing coordination efforts with the town. Ideally, we wanted to drop power from the utility poles directly into the buildings, but with what's going on to try to bring that power underground, that may not be the best option. So the plans show underground utility runs through, coming down Edge Way, over close to the four-way intersection over here. That's where it's left with Central Maine Power at this time. We included a photometric plan with the updated set. Again, the photometrics may change a little bit, but it shows what the intent of the project is. A phasing plan was also added. John and I just discussed before the meeting that phasing plan, and based upon the market conditions today, that's how Great Falls feels that the project will be phased. I know in Lee J's memo, he suggested that if that phasing changes, that the applicant should be responsible for coming back to the board. We feel like maybe some of those changes don't necessarily need to come back to the board, but could be handled through staff. Obviously, we understand that significant changes to that phasing plan might need to come before the board, but we would like to cover any minor changes of the phasing through the staff if needed, just because it's such an unknown what's really going to happen, all depending on market conditions with the commercial and residential units. And of course, we submitted the architectural plans with all the different elevation views that we talked about at the last board meeting. The elevation views included colored renderings. Those colored renderings, again, are not, they're not exactly what, it's more of a representation of what Great Falls wants to do out there. The colors may vary slightly depending on, again, when they go to construction, what the colors may change when they go to construction. And I don't think that they'll vary very much, but again, those architectural renderings, the colors really are meant for representation of what the intent is out there. With that said, I'm here to answer any questions that the board may have about Lee J's memo or the project. Thank you.
So it's been a recurring issue and a hot topic is the parking. And I know you mentioned 297 spots. Your vision at the end of the day, when this is all complete, when all phases are complete, how many businesses and how many residences total are we talking in there?
At this time, there's 260 residences and 37 commercial.
Okay.
And as we discussed, it was...
Sorry, I just need to recuse myself from this portion because I'm a future tenant of the Edge, so I just want to make sure that's on record before we continue.
And I know there was a lot of discussion at the last meeting about this, and John had talked about how he wants to really get going with construction and see what happens. And if more parking is needed, there is an opportunity there to create additional parking, but Great Falls feels that they can work with the parking that's proposed as part of this project to meet the needs of what's proposed at this time.
My underlying concern is if we have winter parking bans, it does snow, are we putting your future tenants, both business and residential, are we putting them at a disservice if they don't have parking? And ideally setting up the businesses for failure and setting the tenants up to be unhappy tenants. And I know we had broached the subject and not a suggestion, but would you guys ever be amenable, the parking lot that exists on the other side of the property? I know we had brushed on it, we didn't really talk about it, but in my eyes, that would be a prime location for a parking garage, for profit even, because people are going to pay for secure parking, and that alleviates you know, we've got finite resources with the municipality for plowing the streets. And if the cars are there, then it becomes a law enforcement adjunct, and we have finite resources with our law enforcement department. I want to see this succeed in the worst way. I want to see this succeed and be a great town center. But if we're struggling with parking right out of the get-go, I think we're setting everybody up down there for failure. And that's just an opinion, and I offer that to you as a suggestion.
The parking will be closely monitored throughout the different phases of the project, and I believe at the last meeting, John from Great Falls did mention that they were agreeable to potentially using that parking lot if they need to in the future to accommodate more parking.
Is that something that could be, or should it be, a condition if downtown congestion gets to a point that would be developed for future parking, and what does that look like, and should it be a condition?
Lee J?
I'd just like to add somewhat of a philosophical planning point of view to this, that people in general always seem to think we need parking, which is added impervious, added impervious, added impervious. We're now have an opportunity to build a downtown center that the town hasn't had. And one of the things that is preached all the time in the planning realm is that downtown centers are meant to get people out of their cars and walking. And so you don't want to flood the area, if you will, with too much parking. I know as it's a little bit of a different take on it, but I have done, I worked for a municipality for a long time, and I had a wonderful tenant come to town in a super Walmart, and they had 4,000 parking spaces between them and Lowe's. And we said, you got to cut that back. That's way too much pavement. And they insisted they needed it. And I can tell you that the only time they need it is 2 days before Christmas and up until Christmas. And then that parking lot is less than 50% full at any one time. So all I do is I want to urge the board to be cautious on thinking that you need a lot more parking than what there is, or what's proposed. That being said, as we know, the last phase of this development, which could be 5 years out, it could be 10 years out, is the large area that I believe you were just talking about, to the back side of the property. And who knows what will happen between now and then, and maybe they will need to add parking. But I really wouldn't let yourselves get caught up on the number of parking spaces that are being proposed. And I think that one thing I agree with Craig on with this is that where this is being phased and they can monitor it, they can adjust it going forward. And I really think that's a wise thing to do. You don't want to flood yourself with so much pavement down there and no buildings. You want to have more building and get people out and walking. And the town has public parking around the site, and probably has a capability. You also have the lot behind the edge, which is a parking lot right now as well, and I don't think that there's any plans currently to build that out. So, I hear you, but just be cautious of that.
Just a follow-up comment on that, Lee J, is that I think one of the things that kind of brought that discussion around, and I can't speak for Phil, but also in my head was that there's no tenant parking per se. There's just parking. So there isn't designated parking for tenants. So tenants are going to have to catch it where they can catch it. And if they're getting in, right at dinner time or something like that, and people are here, they're not going to park too close to their apartment. They're going to park somewhere else. Now, I don't know what too close means, but I think it just kind of sparks that question in your mind. about parking, and I have no idea other than I want this to be wildly successful. And I'd hate people to be upset because, gee, I got this great, brand new, beautiful apartment in a beautiful spot, and I can't find a place to park. So.
And the only thing about that, I completely respect that. The only thing to consider about that is that if there are offices or other types of businesses that are closing at 5 o'clock, those parking spaces get released, if you will. That's the purpose of mixed-use development.
Right.
And so parking that's used for commercial purposes or office purposes during the day are going to be available for residential parking at night.
Good point.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Actually, I just want to chime in. My name is John Smith with Great Falls. And this discussion is great. And I know, I just wanted to let you know that we spend a lot of time looking at that. And I know that, you know, what I always say is if you look at all the places that we like to go to, you could easily say there's a parking problem, right? Where humans want to gather, there's a parking problem. Doesn't make it great, but I think our task really is to figure out, we don't want to have a scenario that Lee J just described. We could easily have it on a micro level. If we have too much asphalt, then I don't think we've done the development any service. On the flip side, if we don't have enough parking, the market will correct that because the businesses won't be able to survive. Tenants won't be happy, so it's a real challenge. I think if we can achieve a balance where on maybe Thursday night, but definitely Friday night, Saturday night, you have to work a little bit to find a parking spot here. But there's good enough things going on that you park a little ways away and you walk in. And if you're a residential tenant coming home at that hour, you will have to park a little ways away. But we do, you brought up the shared parking. That's a very important feature in this. We do not designate parking for a tenant, and I think some people have a challenge with that, but it's all in the education. When we bring tenants on and we talk with them, that's by design. We don't have a piece of asphalt for every person that's in there, and that's how we can achieve the shared parking in a scenario where, as Lee J just spoke to, or you know, when the offices close down at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever it is, and then the people coming in for entertainment or dinner or whatever can use those parking spots. And that's how the shared parking works. And the way that we do it, you know, parking engineers would likely laugh at us, but we look at it from a very primitive perspective. We have a spreadsheet that has every half hour of every day, all week long, all month long, and we just go through and look at that half hour and say, who needs it? You know, at 2 a.m., we know that the residential people need it, but no one else does. At 3 p.m. on a Friday, we know that there's still some office people there. Probably there's people starting to filter in for some Friday night activities, so that's when it really gets challenging. And we do that. We build a spreadsheet, and then we put colors to it, and we heat it up, and we just see where the problem areas are. We can pretty much tell without even doing it. The problem areas are going to be Thursday night starting to be a problem, Friday night for a window of a few hours, and then maybe Saturday night for a window of a few hours. That's where the problem is going to be. And I think we got to try and make sure that we have a reasonable amount for those time periods. And we do have the current park and ride lot as an overflow to be able to sort of test what we're doing. We also, if you look at our plan, I think it's phase 6, it's the last phase, whatever number it is the rear quadrant of the property. And, you know, we'll be using that for a staging area, and that'll be likely the last thing that's built. So we have the opportunity to adjust if we need to. If we've failed in our model, we have the opportunity to adjust it. And then, like I said, that lot across the street, across Wilson Street, is available to use for overflow. And also, you know, potentially, I'd like to think that we wouldn't need to build a parking garage there, but if for some reason it makes sense and we really need that amount of parking downtown, then there is the ability to do it there. So it's definitely a great question, and we spend a lot of time looking at that, trying to analyze it and figure it out.
Thank you.
Parking garage.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if we need a parking garage there, then you're doing something right.
Yes.
God bless
Yeah.
him.
You're definitely doing something right. Let's hope not, but, let's hope so.
Tammy, you have anything else?
No, Lee J's addressed everything very well, and Sebago Technics with their waivers.
Okay.
I
So-
think the recommendation that Lee J made on page 5 of his document, you should have a copy of it there.
Did you folks get a copy of the sewer department's comments, which are fairly technical in nature, and really will need to be addressed by Sebago Technics along the way, but I wanted to make sure you did see those.
They did get it electronically.
Okay, thank you.
We are in the process of addressing those.
Issues now.
Although technical, there's nothing that's really overly complicated that will cause any redesign. And we also haven't received main DEP comments yet. Main DEP engineering comments.
Yeah.
We just received the geology comments that were really just about the VRAP out there. But we haven't received main DEP's engineering comments. We suspect that we'll get those soon.
Okay. So Lee J's recommendation for the conditions, one would be if the development plan changes and is being constructed out of the phasing sequences, then the owner of the development must come back to the planning board and seek an amendment to the phasing plan. And then 2, if the architecture of the building is proposed to be different than that which was proposed in the approved plans, the property owner must come back to the planning board and present the revised architectural plan for the board's consideration and found to be consistent with the standards found in the village overlay district. Section 6.4.2.6 of the zoning ordinance. The third one is the applicant shall follow the inspection and enforcement procedures found in Article 10, Section 10.1 A through G of the town subdivisions regulations. Number 4 is the applicant shall hire a third-party civil engineer to be on site during the construction of the infrastructure to ensure all infrastructure is being put in meeting either appropriate engineering standards or town specifications if part of the town standards. 5, due to the size and nature of the project, the developer and construction management team shall hold a pre-construction coordination meeting with the municipal staff, including the town manager, code enforcement, planner, water and sewer district staff, as well as fire and police 2 weeks prior to the start of the construction. 6, the developer shall place a letter of credit with the town, naming the town as the recipient of the funds if a default should occur. This letter of credit shall be based on the phase being constructed at the time and shall be adjusted up or down based on the phase that the developer is working within that time. 7, the phasing plan should include information pertaining to the construction of the infrastructure and associated costs. 8, the intersection of School/Wilson, which is currently signalized, may need to have intersection and signalization upgrades in the future. These improvements will need to be addressed by the applicant if the Maine DOT TMP indicates that improvements are required. And 9, this project is conditioned on all information submitted, written or orally, provided to the planning board as part of this review process. And then you said something about the first one.
Yeah, about the phasing plan and then the architectural. The applicant would like the opportunity to be able to come to the town staff first, and if the town staff feels that it's a major deviation from what's been presented, then at that time it's brought before the board. But we'd like an opportunity to have a first step to go to the staff with any minor changes to the phasing and the architectural plans.
Lee J, what is your comment on that?
Well, if the board is comfortable with that, I don't have a problem with it. The changes to the architectural, number 2 was not, I know there was a discussion earlier about, changes in color and whatnot. That wasn't the intent. It was more of about, going from a colonial to Roman Greco design or some other major deviation from the plans that were provided showing what building is proposed on what part of the property. But if the board has no problem with it going to staff, I mean, staff is certainly going to say, yeah, we're fine with that, or they're going to say, you really need to go back to the planning board for this. So having that kind of leeway is fine by me. I don't know how Jen or Tammy feel about that, because they're really, by the time this thing gets going, will probably be the staff, and you won't be seeing me much anymore. But I'm fine with that.
I also am fine with that.
Okay. So if that is, so my thought on that is if that's to be the case, I would want to consider at least the planning board in that consideration. I wouldn't want to be excluded from that decision-making process, because if there is something that, if it's a fine line between deciding if it's going to or not, it should go. And we should have a say in that as well. So if we're put in to that, then I would agree to that as well. Then, like you said, small little things, we can all agree on it and won't have to come back. But if we vote that, if we make the determination that, okay, it does need to come in, then. Okay.
So,
Yeah, and somebody's going to have to make a determination of, what's small and what's, a gross
What's that threshold?
change.
Right.
So is it just a normal construction change order that's going through, or is it something that's significant to the look, the feel, the final impression of this that's
Right.
going to change?
Right.
Right, and the thing is, regarding the phasing portion is, they have given you a phasing plan, and let's say something happens in the market and phase 4 becomes phase 2. And you guys, and it doesn't come back to you at least to say, here's a change in the phasing and we're moving here to do this building because there's more demand here. I'd hate for you as a board member or, at that time as a citizen coming into town hall and saying, I don't remember us approving that as phase 2, or, as phase 4. I remember it as phase 2. Why are they doing construction there? So I think it's not a matter of, oh, they're not going to approve us for the change of phase. It's more about informing the board that something has changed and why. I don't see it as something that should become a deterrent to the developer, but it's more about the board knowing something has changed and why.
Correct.
yeah, so that on the phasing, I think that definitely makes sense. Our process on the, we've got architectural drawings to a certain point right now, and they look okay, but they're really computer-generated drawings. They don't really, as we refine these, we take each building and we're gonna refine each building and look at the details and get them figured out, to get them right, in our opinion, get them right. And when it comes to color especially, I mean, Cindy spends a lot of time, color is very important to her. And she spends a lot of time and agonizes over the colors. And so she chose like the color palette to apply to what we've got here. But as we look at these, those colors may change, the details more and more details will be put on the page. And I think the way that it was seemingly written now was that any deviation or change from that means a full planning board submission again. And I think our thought is, or our hope, is that we can have a more efficient process on that. And if during that process somebody says, well, time out, no, I think that's too much, then fine, we take it to the board or we adjust it to the point where it's not. I don't really anticipate that happening, but I think if there will be changes to these because of the stage that we're at right now. So no matter what, the way it's written now, we have to come back to planning board each time. And so the thought was, is there a more efficient way, at least a step thrown in between? If they say, oh yeah, well that makes sense, then we move forward. But the thought, I'm curious on how would you go about if the planning board is gonna be involved in that does it still come to planning board, or does the chair look at it and make a determination, or how does that work?
Well, it would first go to the town, and then if, we'd all have to have a consensus on if it would go back to the planning board, or if we'd just allow it to, like what Lee J said, just be more or less trying to communicate with us on trying to give us an update on how things are going with it. If things are changing, then
Yeah.
we relay a lot of things to the town through it, so
Okay.
keeping us in the loop would be greatly appreciated on that.
Excellent.
Would this be an opportunity, and just thinking outside the box, is a very unique project, and it's going to set a precedent for future projects, but we're not going to have a project of this scale, obviously, anytime soon. Would there be a provision for a virtual vote for the board members for this project specifically? So issues of minor change, issues of, I think what you're talking about are small items. You're not going to change the gross plan.
Right.
Where we could do a virtual vote via email. Is that something that can happen, or? And I know it's a unique circumstance, but I don't want to. What I don't want to do is.
Too much.
Is it
I
okay?
honestly think that that's too much. I think just giving us a heads up on it, and then if we deem that it's too much, then we can bring it right in here and have
Gotcha.
a discussion on it. I just think that I just don't want to get sidetracked on something and then we don't know about it, and then all of a sudden we have 3 different changes happening and we didn't know about them.
Right.
Tammy?
Mr. Chair, you can call a special meeting at any given time.
Yes.
Being the chair, the vice chair, the secretary can call a special meeting. Hence, all I need is 24 hours to get the agenda done and get it posted for those 24 hours. If they have a change that needs, they have a contractor that can't come in on the day they said they were going to, it's gonna throw the schedule off. Hence, you need to know about this. So it's gonna rearrange the phasing.
Yeah.
Hence, perfect example. So if you call a special meeting, chances are it would be, they would notify me or Lee J.
Yeah.
We would set it up immediately and get a quorum in here so that we could take and do a special meeting with the vote. As long as we have a room available, you could do a special meeting.
Okay.
I know you don't like to set a precedence for that,
Yeah.
but like Phil said, you're not gonna have anything of this magnitude anytime soon.
Right. Okay.
And
Go ahead, Tammy.
no, I was just gonna say, and that would assist them should something come up unforeseeable
Yeah.
in this case.
Unpopular opinion here, per usual. I think that color changes and description, details of the building, are not small changes, and I would not be comfortable moving forward without the town being notified that was going to happen.
Yep.
This is our downtown. I grew up here. I was born and raised here. We've been waiting for this project to come a long time. I guess I'm talking as a whatever, but I just think that as much as information as we can give the public as the process goes through, that's great. Small details, whatever you think would be a small detail, I wouldn't mind having an opinion on, not doing it at the planning board level, but I do think color changes, details, stuff like that, I think that we need to give the public an opportunity to know about it.
Yeah,
My
and,
opinion.
I agree with Jen, that the fact is that this planning board trusts Tammy and Jen to do their jobs and do it right, and they know that this decision I can make here on the spot, that's fine, but this is on the edge or crosses the line, and the planning board has to sit on this. And I think we trust them to do that. So, so as this goes forward, I think that using their judgment and their feedback to us is all that's necessary.
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, we work on behalf of the town and the townspeople. That's why we're here. And making sure that everything is met for ordinances and things. That's our job, me and Tammy. So that's exactly, I appreciate that from Paul. That's exactly how we feel, I think.
Agree.
Yeah, so I think I'm clear on that. I mean, we'll just submit like we would normally submit. And then probably just to code, right, we would submit and talk with planning code, and then you'll determine whether it needs to go to a planning board meeting or not. I don't really envision that we're gonna need emergency or meetings or anything. hopefully we'll be getting, draft plans in to sit down and talk about them and all that, so that should work okay in the timeline.
Mr. Smith and Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to submit some things that we wouldn't mind voting on, and everything else would have to come back to the board,
Okay.
just so that you're aware of what our list of comfort would be.
Okay, that'd be perfect. All right. So tonight, we're looking to find the application complete and then possibly set up the site plan and schedule a public hearing.
And you could also accept the waivers that they have requested.
Oh, okay. So the waivers, there's 3 waivers. The first one is 6.4.2.2, parallel parking along Main Street. The application has requested angle parking along Main Street. Number 2, 6.4.4.3.c, max parking lot size. The applicant has requested to build parking lot sizes larger than 30 spaces. And 3, 7.8.3.i, parking spaces, 414 required and 286 provided. Do you want me to read all the staff responses on these, or?
It would be a definite good idea to read number 3.
Okay, well, I'll read all of them first. So with the parallel parking along Main Street, the staff response is the applicant has made efforts to make Main Street walkable, and the on-street parking alleviates the need for off-street parking. For the second one was the max parking lot size. The staff response is the applicant has provided for density and commercial units as desired by the Village Overlay District. Efforts have been made to place these lots behind buildings and are screened properly. And then
Mr. Chair, before you read number 3, can you just update what you said to list the 297 that he has upgraded
Okay,
that to?
yeah, sorry, my bad. Yep, no, you're right. So the parking spaces for 3 is 414 required and 297, right?
Yes.
297 provided. The staff response, the waivers within the Village Overlay District were put into place to allow for a walkable, dense, and compact village center. The applicant has put a lot of time into shared parking concepts and will have the Wilson Street parking lot if there is a deficit in parking. And then the recommendation is to grant all 3 waivers.
I'm good with that.
Yep. And that was Amber and Allison on these.
I'm, yeah,
Okay.
I'm not here.
So I would make a motion that we accept the waivers as stated.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Who seconded? Jerry, thank you.
Further discussion? No discussion. We'll do a roll call vote. Allison?
She recused herself.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry. Dave?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
And me, I'm a yes as well. So waivers are granted.
You can find the application complete if you so desire.
I would make a motion that we find the application complete.
I'll second that.
Okay, further discussion? No, roll call vote. Dave?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
And me, I'm a yes. So there we go. We have found this application complete. And now the schedule, the site, and schedule the public hearing. So when?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
The earliest I can get a public hearing scheduled is February 3rd.
So that would be the first
Yeah,
meeting in
because I
February.
have to notify them, and
Yep.
the newspaper and our meeting dates don't agree.
Okay.
Not many towns do.
Is that okay with you guys? February 3rd?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Next is new business.
I have one other question.
Okay.
Regarding this, on the recommendations. Hey, Lee J,
Yes.
is Maine DEP addressing the stormwater plan?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Thank you. That's what I wanted to make sure.
Okay, so moving on, new business, conditional use, Tina Allen, AKA Enzo Benzo Specialty Donuts, tax map R71, lot 7A, 474 Portland Road.
Good evening.
Tina, you'll need to speak up a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Big mess. Can you hear me okay? Is that better? Good evening. Thanks for having us. I'm here for my conditional use permit application. I had submitted it back to planning at the end of November. Since then, we have gone through the list of have-tos, and I think where we are now is that we've confirmed that this was the space has been previously approved for conditional use through Berwick Self-Storage, so I'm not really changing anything about the space other than I'm modifying it for my business. So the intent is to bake off-site and deliver goods and create a retail establishment of sorts for these baked goods and specialty items. Since my last talk with planning, we've had Maine DOT was out there today on site measuring and so forth, and I spoke to Van at Maine DOT, and he was confirming that they were actively reviewing, so I expect something back from them very soon. Chief Plant was out there also with me this morning, and he stated that he would be sending something to planning as well.
And you have copies of his email.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's great. Chief of Police had sent in their letter as well, signing off. So I believe the only thing that I am honestly just waiting on at this point is my license. It was recommended that I go ahead and make sure I add the retail establishment to my existing Maine state license, which has actually been processed pending the final inspection. So between the landlord, me taking ownership of the place, and just the kind of timeline to delivery, we're just kind of waiting on that final inspection, and I believe code enforcement needs to potentially do a walk as well. So where I'm at is, if you have any additional questions for me about my business, I know it's new, but we're very excited to be a part of the community, and with that, I will pause.
I understand that this is an expansion of a business that you already have, and you're just going into this as a retail location. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, could you describe the business now?
Yeah, so it's very new. We had been more or less asked to kind of do a pop-up. I had been doing, I had initially acquired a home food processor license with the state in October, I want to say. We were asked to participate in community markets. Sweet Dirt Medicinal had a few festivals throughout the fall. We were there. They've since asked us to somehow provide goods for their events that they have ongoing. I also do direct-to-consumer, so online, my online platform allows for me to deliver locally within a reasonable area in southern Maine. And we have really enjoyed, we were at the farm stand in South Berwick as well at Wally's for a short time, where we really got to know a lot of folks who were coming through from Berwick, and a lot of folks who are very excited and just hoping that we actually have a location so they can come and see us. So we've been very excited about the welcome we've had from the surrounding communities. I grew up in this area. I went to Noble High School, and so I'm very excited to kind of plant myself and be a part of the community. I think it's a great community. I love what's happening with the downtown, and it's just a very exciting time for this area, I think, so.
Thank you, Tina.
You brought up sweet dirt. You're not putting any marijuana in your.
No.
Okay, just making sure. Just making sure.
No,
Bring samples, no.
You talk about food and then you bring that up.
I have to tell you,
Yep.
I have to tell you, if you know me at all, you'd know my parents are laughing so hard because I was a very straight-laced kid. So when this happened, I just said, I don't even know, because, I grew up during the DARE program, and, you just stay away from all that stuff. So I have to tell you, it is actually quite funny. But the folks are very nice, and the community, honestly, I really do feel, growing up in southern Maine, we cross lots of boundaries across all the towns, and if you grew up here, you're going to, the outlets for school shopping sometimes, you're going to Dover, depending on what you're needing to do. So I really do feel like the community has given us a nice big warm welcome. So it'll be really nice to kind of just have a home base.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Jen?
Yeah, so code enforcement just wants to see what you're doing for signage. Make sure you meet the ordinance on the signage. I see that in your letter. Also, a layout of what your building's going to be with smoke detectors and all that. I don't know if you submitted that to Chief Plant. I'll take a copy of it too.
Okay.
And yep, as soon as you want to do a walkthrough, I'm available and ready for you.
Okay, excellent. We can plan it. I will give you a call.
Sure.
It's excellent.
I think we discussed it before, and so DOT, when Maine DOT went out, they're just looking at your easement onto the road, correct?
Yeah, they have an existing, obviously that's been an existing business. There's no difference in curb cuts or entrance or anything. And as far as the landlord is concerned, we were going to be allowed to have the parking on the side. They are going to allow signage, to Jen's point, they're going to allow us to have signage on their existing pylon beneath theirs, but I will come back once I figure out what I want for signage. I think for the time being, we need to focus on just kind of getting in, and we do have a great marketing presence at the moment that we're going to point, because we do want to kind of take it easy initially and kind of do a soft opening with a hope for a grand opening once we have the signage in place and we get the proper dimensions and so forth, which I need to get from the landlord, which is why I'm going to do that at a later date once we get through this.
So this is a rental property that.
Yes, we're
yeah.
leasing. Yes,
Okay.
we are leasing. Correct.
I guess my only concern is that as we continue, and it has nothing to do with your business in particular, but with Sweet Dirt and all the other businesses going in there, and it's a high traffic area, does MDOT look at traffic control? As we approve more businesses and more throughput through there, it gets more inherently dangerous to pull out onto that road just because people are whipping by.
They have a lot of traffic studies on that road, and last time I think James, when he was down here, he says that the closer that they bring stuff to the road, the slower people drive, because they actually spend time to look at the roads. I mean, it's already there, so it's not like, but.
Not a concern then?
Yeah.
All right.
No, Mike's right.
Okay.
The closer you move things towards the road, the slower people drive.
Right on.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Awesome.
Tammy, do you have anything, or?
I don't. Tina's been very upfront with me with everything she's wanting to do and the information that she's provided. I do have the police, the fire chief, they have a septic design already in place because of the apartment over the office where she's gonna be in there, and there's a drilled well on site. The fire chief did go through with her, and the only thing he recommended were the fire extinguishers, and they are ones for kitchens that you're probably gonna wanna put in there.
Yes. Yes, he mentioned that as well. Yep.
Lee J, do you have anything on that one that we might have missed?
No, no, I don't. I did not participate in a review of this at all, so I'm all set.
Okay.
I tried to look at it in a couple of different ways, and right now, the layout she provided made sense, but ultimately, it's gonna come down to her food service license being upgraded when she gets her things in place for their inspection.
Okay.
That's gonna be her hard part, is to get through that.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, she also doesn't have a valid business license through the town of Berwick yet, so she will have to do that unless she did it. Did I sign
Nope.
it? No.
No, 'cause
Okay.
she was waiting for this first.
Just making
Yeah.
sure that I
Yeah.
wasn't.
Okay.
So she will need a valid business license before she can
Open.
open.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Sorry, missed a word there.
It's okay.
So at this point, we're looking to find this application complete and then possibly schedule the public hearing and site walk.
Correct.
I'll make that motion to find this application complete.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay. Further discussion? Nope, okay. Looks like Allison's gone. So Amber, you'll be voting on this one?
Yes.
Okay. Dave?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. All right, so that's that. And then
Thank you,
the
gentlemen.
site walk and public hearing. You guys want a site walk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I
I'd like
think
to
so.
see it, so.
I'd like to see it, yeah.
We'd love to have you.
Yeah.
Public hearing, the soonest I can get it in.
Will there be
is
any cookies on the
February
site?
3rd.
Okay,
The sidewalk will
Italian
need to
cookies,
determine what
actually.
time.
Okay. So does it matter if it's dark out at that point?
Well, you'll be inside mostly.
We'll be inside.
Yeah.
And when
so-
you're,
Very well
and when
lit.
you're approaching the building,
It's all lit
You'll
up anyways, so.
be able to see.
Okay. Does 5:30 sound good?
Can you make it
What-
5?
5?
What date?
The February 3rd?
Okay.
February 3rd at 5?
Yep. And the public hearing will also be on February 3rd.
Yep.
You'll be second public hearing.
Yep.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Moving right along. The new business, sketch plan application, Industry Drive, Lot 4 development, tax map R72, Lot 12-4, RCI and Aquifer Protection Overlay Zoning Districts. Peter Paul.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Ken Wood from Adder Engineering. You don't see me in front of you much. You usually see Michael, who's on the screen. He'll do the presentation in a minute. You see Louis, you see Brian, and you see Liam. I'm really here because Peter Paul's here with me. He's the owner developer. Peter's a good client of mine. He's a good friend, but he does a good job. We originally submitted this application back in November, on November 4th. There had been some comments with staff regarding the prior approvals by DEP for the industrial park. By coincidence, I actually reviewed that industrial park for the town in '06. The town of Berwick used to use 3 engineering firms to do their zoning and stormwater review. They did us civil consultants in Underwood. So I had done the review. I'm pretty familiar with the site location development permits that have been issued. I believe that the lot we have in front of you tonight, Lot 4, meets the standards that were set forth by the original site location and development permit. In July of 2006, it addressed the drainage, and each lot then had an acceptable building envelope and an impervious envelope on it. Michael will walk you through that in a minute, but the development that we're proposing is well within that envelope.
Just real quick, I remember you were saying 2006, but there's also been we had an issue with this area before with another company with,
Northeast Ready Mix?
yes.
That was
with
one of
the-
ours. And
Yeah,
I have-
with the Bain DEP, is that been all finished?
Most of that's been finished. I have the notes from that. And I can go through the history of that. There was a site visit that Maine DEP did, and they found out that there was a stump processing pile that Billy Toby, the original owner of this parcel, had a permit by rule for. Travis Doucette was using that area. There was a material stockpile in the middle of the cul-de-sac. That's been moved. Peter owns both lots 4 and lot 5.
Okay.
Lot 5 has had an active mineral processing license. That was found to be the DEP, in the DEP order too.
Yep.
So the rock pile that was in the cul-de-sac has been moved. It was actually located on lot 4, the
Okay.
lot that's in front of you tonight.
Yep.
Peter has Will Shapley, who is across the road. Will Shapley has a lot. He's been processing that material. There's probably 6,000 yards of material there. That material is being processed, and it's been half of it, about 50% of it, has been done. It's been relocated from lot 4 to lot 5. Lee J's comments had been that you can't get a building permit until the material pile has been relocated. And when you see it on the plan, that's absolutely true, because the material stockpile is right where we want to put the building.
Right.
So unless you have questions for me regarding the history, I'll let Michael walk you through the
Yeah,
development.
I just wanted to make sure that the stormwater is all up to date and
Yep.
everything, because that was the biggest thing when it was in the last time, that it still wasn't up to it.
Right. Bill Toby has installed some of that stormwater. When you see this lot, lot 4, there are 4 catch basins on it with 12 to 15-inch diameter pipes between them. Those haven't been installed. And for us, it's fortunate because our development is smaller, so it's within the building envelope.
Okay.
It reduces the building envelope. And as part of your approval, we propose to relocate those catch basins closer to development so we can catch the stormwater.
Okay, okay. But
Okay.
I just remember seeing it a couple years back, and that's just stuck with me since.
And then after we finish, my only comment will be, unless you have questions for me, is that we had submitted on November 4th. I realize we're unusual times. I realize the boards are busy, but the sooner I can get approval, the sooner Peter's crew can get to work and get the lot developed. So I'll let Michael do it remotely. If there's questions and you'd rather see it on my board, I have one here.
Okay.
And thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So, with permission, I'd like to share my screen and just have a brief overview.
Yep, yep.
Okay. There we go. Everyone see all right? I'll zoom in a little. There we go. Is that good?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So, as Ken said in his overview, this is lot 4 of the original mid-construction subdivision from back in '06. And what we're proposing to do, well, I can go even further above that. 2.7 acres. We're in the RCI and Aquifer Protection District, or Aquifer Protection Overlay. What we're proposing to do is construct a just under 6,000 square foot building, 5880. A portion of that, the front bump out, will be professional offices, 850 square feet approximate. Building serviced by parking lot, appropriate aisles, circulation around the building throughout, gravel surface throughout. As far as utilities are concerned, catch basins are, as Ken just alluded to, this heavy dashed line where you can see my cursor is the approved limits of impervious from the original site location of development permit that went along with that mid-construction subdivision. So we're well within that for both the building, the parking lot, and our proposed septic, which is an on-site subsurface wastewater disposal system. Yeah, so I'd be happy to switch to a different page to show you, let's see. There we go. The 4 catch basins. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Exact same materials, dimensions. Really the only thing that's changing is the location of those 4, because we're having the reduction that we are in that impervious surface relative to what was part of the original SLOTA. That's all I have for now. Again, we're at sketch plan right now, so just any comments the board would have and like to see moving forward. And I guess one final item, this heavy earth hatch here is the material stockpile area that Ken alluded to and that Lee J has put comment in on. So that, I think, concludes my overview. If you've got anything else, Ken, I saw you move back to the podium.
No, I just wanted to mention that we had also submitted a preliminary plan application right behind this, so that's hopefully what we'll be contemplating at the next meeting. And if anyone wants to see a finished product of this similar type of facility, Peter has done one that we worked with him on at 29 Littleworth Road in Dover, if you travel that road. That facility is about twice as large as this, but it would give you an idea of what type of facility Peter develops and how it looks in the end.
Thank you.
All right.
I have a question on the purpose of the building. You know, you talked about there's going to be some office space, Ken, up front, and then there's going to be some other space in the back, some open space. Is there a purpose for this now,
Yeah.
or is this going to be leased to
You
various
gotta go up
tenants?
to the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
I told you I didn't do many of these meetings.
It's just so everyone else that listens can hear.
Yeah, Peter may use it for his own use, Paul. He has an office, he could use some equipment area. He's also in the minerals industry. He's talked about buying some cement trucks, small batch trucks. If not, he may lease it. We've stipulated the allowed uses, I believe in General Note 1 on the plan.
Ken, I had read that there was some mineral use here or potential for mineral processing or something of that sort, and I was just wondering what that is.
Well, right now...
is it something that we need to get Maine DEP involved in or something of that sort?
Lot 5 is already approved for mineral processing and it's had an active license. And as I said, Peter bought the lot. He also inherited and purchased the large stone pile and a couple material stockpiles that were on Lot 4. We're relocating those now. Will's processing them, and we're relocating those to Lot 5.
Okay.
But he will use some of that old material for his own use, but he also plans on selling it. And I believe, and I have the DEP permit with me, it's still used as a processing yard, and it continues to be permitted that way. And DEP agreed to that when they came up in 2018 and reviewed the Northeast Ready Mix plan also. And you'll see that they had felt that the existing permits were adequate. I don't think Peter's going to expand on those.
Okay.
But instead of moving trying to find a home for 8,000 yards somewhere where he uses that in his business and it's a good location to sell to other contractors, it seemed wise to keep that permit active. And that's why we've put mineral processing on it too.
Okay.
It's allowed in the AP district.
All right.
Jen?
That makes sense.
Staff visited the site on Monday, took photos. There's more than just a rock pile on that site. There's some tires and some other things too, just to keep in mind. They are in violation.
The tires he'll get rid of, Jen.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep. Yes, Lee J?
I'd also like to point out, I mean, it's one thing for Ken to stand there and say, oh, well, you know, we're going to build this building and, you know, whatever. But the fact of the matter remains is that within the use categories, there are things that may need to come back to you for review. And so he shouldn't think that getting approval of this project is going to give carte blanche to any use going on that property.
Right.
Well, I don't, but I think it does give us an approval for the use that is stated in the general notes, which are on the plan. I mean, that's why I'm here. I'm getting approval
Provided
for
they're
the
permitted
uses.
uses in that zone, Ken.
I'm sorry?
Provided they're permitted uses in that zone.
Well, right, but the general note states the permitted uses in the AP district. I agree with you, Lee J. We've agreed on this term for 20 years we've been doing business together. But in the notes, in the AP district and the RCI district, we have listed the permitted uses. And that's, I assume if the planning board approves my plan and there's a note with the uses that are allowed in the district, I'm allowed to have those uses apply to this facility.
Well, isn't it the town ordinances that it would?
Of course.
So why would we need it in the notes if it's the town ordinances that? I'm just asking. That's.
I mean, we usually put the proposed use of a building on our plan.
Right.
And we always make sure it's in accordance with the town ordinance.
Okay.
So I think
I
that,
can piggyback off that, Ken. So to your point, Lee J, the AP overlay is very specific on the allowed uses within that overlay, and everything that we've incorporated in here, you know, we had that forethought. So everything that we're proposing here is an allowed use within that overlay in addition to the RCI. And
Okay.
as a matter of practice within our company, those generally make it into the general notes of either note 1 or 2 is how I handle my plan sets.
And that's fine, I just want it known that it doesn't give the owner carte blanche to just do anything out there, that there are permitted uses and there are conditional uses and there are uses that are not allowed.
Of course.
And you know, just to say we're gonna, you know, build a building of 5,000 square feet and, you know, whatever we wanna use it for, we're gonna use it for is not the case.
well, I'm sorry, and I usually don't take exception, but I don't believe I said that. I don't believe I said that at all, Lee J.
That's kind of what I heard, Ken.
Well, I guess, maybe I'll review the tape tomorrow, but I didn't say that. I said an office, I said he may lease it for allowed uses. I said those uses are specified on a drawing. And you've had this drawing for review, so, I mean, as usual, Lee J, if you have comments and you want us to revise the plan, I'd be glad to do it.
Well, I think my memo indicates that you say in your plan here that there's gonna be, you know, so many 8-wheel trucks coming in and out of there every day, and I think I asked in my memo, what is the use?
Michael, can you answer, please?
Yeah, he's referring to, I believe, one of the general notes that speaks to the type of vehicles that will be servicing the facility, but.
Correct.
I mean, the class of vehicle and the use are independent items as far as I'm concerned. If there was any confusion about the proposed use, I apologize for that, but you know, we can set the record straight here if you feel it hasn't been done so already.
I mean, if it's a spec building, let's say it's a spec building.
It's not a spec
I haven't heard that.
Well, it's not a spec building.
Well, then what's the use?
The use is.
Can I answer?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Peter can
yeah,
answer.
just come up to
Sure.
the mic and speak, please.
Hi, my name is Peter Fall. I own Northern Pool and Spa, and I'm a swimming pool contractor. And that's my use. I'm out of space at the yard where I'm at on Route 236 in Elliott. And my hopes is, you know, where that's located there, you know, you got Will Shapley over there, you got Northeast Concrete, and they do similar to what I do there, is I need a place where I can park my excavator and my 10-wheelers, and if I need to pull a truck inside and work on it during the winter, I have a warm and heated space that I can work on. There is that giant pile of rock that kind of came with the property that Northeast couldn't move, so I bought it from him because he didn't have the money to move it, and I'm having it moved, and that'll be gone hopefully within the first 6 months when I start digging again, because I use stone and that stuff when I build pools, so it'll be out of there, and I'm building it for myself as a maintenance facility for my business.
Okay.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Paul.
That works.
Yeah.
Any other questions from any members of the board or Lee J or Tammy?
Nothing from me, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
You don't have anything, Dave? Anyone? Jen, do you have anything to add, or?
Not right now.
Okay. So this is just the sketch plan, so I guess that's.
Sketch plan submittal, Mr. Chairman, but as I mentioned, we did submit preliminary plan last week, so we certainly look forward to the comments on the plan before we come back before you.
Yep.
Then hopefully you'll find our application complete and schedule our public hearing.
Yep.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Great, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yep.
Thank you for the time, everybody.
Thank you.
And we took pictures on site, I'd be happy to share them with you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll
Yeah,
send them
yeah,
to you.
same, Jen, I'll send it back to you.
Oh, good.
Brian went down to pictures of the stockpiles.
Perfect.
I don't believe there were any in the middle of the cul-de-sac.
All right.
Because I believe the cul-de-sac was built as part of the last hearing.
We'll talk.
Next on the
Thanks.
agenda.
Yep, next on the agenda is the public comment. Open to anyone in the public that has public comment.
Thank you.
Seeing how no one's here, doesn't look like anyone's online, I'm going to close that. And now informational items, we have a requested zoning amendment.
Yeah,
you,
that's me.
Jamie.
I received this one. If you start at the back of the email and read forward, you won't get lost. Okay?
Yeah.
This came in shortly after I got here, so I knew we would be having ordinance changes. And this week, in fact, alone on Monday, first thing, bright and early, 9 a.m., somebody was in talking with Jen about also doing the same thing, wanting a zoning to cut, their current zoning to come to the Village Overlay District. So we are trying to coordinate, because when you look at the next document for the town meeting and all the voting that goes in June, we need to get rolling with any type of zoning land use changes that you would like to see this year to go up for vote. One of the ones that I am personally working with James on, and I'm hoping I can get Amber and Phil's approval on it, is to go to a seven regular member board. That being, you have then 4 people in which to make a quorum. I know that increases you by 1, but it also gives you a better depth on your board to make decisions. And from what I've seen tonight, I have yet to work with as strong a planning board as I see here in Berwick. I have got to tell you, you folks are phenomenal with doing your homework before you come to the meeting. It is really good to see. So I'm hoping both Phil and Amber will allow that to take place, because if they want to remain regulars, alternates, appointed every year, then it won't go any further. So that's what I was going to talk to you about.
I'm happy to serve in whatever capacity the town or the board deems
Well,
appropriate, so.
It's also better for the town because you get reappointed every year. That's 2 less reappointments that would have to be done by the Board of Selectmen. Hence, saves them time, saves them energy, saves you time to come and get sworn in every year. You'd go to a 3-year staggered term like the rest of the board.
If it's administratively and appropriate, I'm all for it. Happy to serve, like I said, so.
Okay, thank you.
So we should just put that on a discussion for the next meeting, or? 'Cause, I have do we need to have a discussion as a whole on this, or is it just something that if everyone's okay with it, it just happens?
I think that
I think it makes it difficult if we add more, because sometimes there's not if 3 is a quorum now, if 4 is a quorum, then if 4 people can't go to something, then it kind of, it's tough to get the minimum sometimes. I guess that's the easy way to say it.
In 10 years of doing planning board meetings, I've not had one planning board meeting that's been canceled for lack of a quorum.
Well, if we went to 7 members, we would have to have 4 present in order to have a full meeting.
Correct, to have a quorum,
Yeah,
yep.
right. To have a quorum.
Right.
Yep.
I think-
It would just be adding one more member, and I think the alternates would then step up, and not being an alternate, they'd be a regular member then.
And that so being, would that add alternates?
No, there
So
would
it
be
would
no
just be-
alternates.
They would just be,
It'd be like the Board of Selectmen.
Correct, straight 7 members.
I think that makes sense.
I like it.
I would want it to go to 4.
Yeah.
You know, I'd want to see it increase, the minimum.
and we can change that at any point, is that
Yep,
correct?
you go
Okay.
back and,
Okay.
do the same thing that we're gonna recommend.
Okay.
Ultimately, your voters are gonna vote on this.
Right,
If they
right.
don't want it to happen that way,
Okay.
it won't. But because Phil and Amber are on the board now as alternates,
Yep.
if they don't want to go to be a regular member, then it won't even go, I won't even pass the information on to the town manager.
I'm happy to serve in whatever capacity you guys need.
And
How about you, Amber? Is she there?
I think that's a great idea. I would be happy to do that.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea too.
Because then you're not limited to 5 members for your officers. You
Right.
now have 7 members to choose from also.
And you do realize what happens when we put down in that little bracket, when we go to vote, the board is, chooses yes by this amount of people, so people are gonna
Right.
vote yes anyway.
Yeah.
That's usually what happens.
Yeah.
That's usually what happens. But I think that is that's the right thing to do, because it was always a struggle having alternates.
Yep.
Because they're contributing just as much. I mean, I started out as an
Right.
alternate for 6 months, and I was contributing as much as a regular member, but then when it comes voting time, I can't vote, so.
Yep.
Right.
I think it makes sense.
Yep.
This board's getting a lot busier, especially going into the 11 acres across the way. It's getting
Yeah.
a lot busier.
Yep. And the depth of knowledge that you
Yes.
folks have is unbelievable. You have no idea. You really, really don't.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to make a
this for?
motion on that, I'd be happy to take the information to the town manager.
I'd be happy to make a motion that we move the number of regular members on the planning board to 7 members, with 4 being a quorum.
And I would love to second that motion.
All right, any further discussion?
Just what I said.
Yep. All right, so we'll do a roll call vote. Amber?
Yes.
All right. Dave?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So,
Can I ask what this is for?
Tammy?
It's because I don't have all of good information.
Okay, so you want this from us?
If I could.
Okay,
It's
great.
for me, they will be shredded as soon as I get the information into my cell phone. So once I get them all, I'll shoot you a text that says, "This is Tammy. You have nothing to check on your email today."
nice.
Because that's what I want to notify you of, is you have email to check.
Okay.
Don't add me, I don't do group texts. Are you all done?
She don't even answer her.
Don't yet.
All right.
And I will not,
So-
I will take it off.
To bring everything back, the requested zoning amendment, how many people is it right now?
One,
Just one?
currently, it's
Okay.
going to be, total 4 by the time it's done, I do believe.
Okay, because to make this work, they have to be touching, and it's good to get at least a few that want to do it at a time, because it's very difficult to do this more than once a year.
Correct.
So this applicant, or this, request is different from the request you're getting.
Okay,
The other requests are buildings that are more downtown. or
Okay.
closer to.
okay.
Are you all done? Because I have something. Just to let the planning board know, I've been working with Jerry Locke, Captain Locke from our Berwick Police Department, to rewrite a disorderly building ordinance. We do have it finalized. We're just waiting. Jerry's going to review it. James is going to review it. I will be presenting it to you guys at the next board meeting. I will send it out to you guys prior to that, just so that you have an understanding of it. I'm going to send you the current ordinance, and then I'm going to send you the revised ordinance so you guys can see the major changes in it. It's a lot different. I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. You will be receiving that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So the timeline that you got, the critical dates for town referendum, which we nicely have at the very top, is June 14th, and believe it or not, come the next meeting, we're already done with January, so it's gonna come up really
It
fast.
comes really fast. We only
So-
get a couple meetings to discuss, and
Right.
then we approve, and it goes to the selectmen.
Now, there's something that you could do, is you could have a workshop on any of the ordinances that are proposed. You can't make a decision at the workshop, but it could be the first thing you do at the next meeting,
Right.
so we can get it, so
Okay.
you don't spend a lot of time discussing it at
Yep,
an actual
and you
meeting.
just throw out some ideas and brainstorm. Okay, yeah, I think we should do that, is have a workshop. I got a couple ideas that I'd like to discuss on some things too. But-
Yep.
Yeah, nice, awesome. I'd say this was a pretty good meeting today. The next thing will be the adjournment.
I got a question.
Oh, hold on, sorry. Jerry?
In our packet, there was a thing that says private road maintenance agreement.
That was for Sitkowski. They were missing that the last time they came in.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And
the
they
Diamond
did
Hill,
have
yep.
that.
Okay.
I didn't know if,
The only thing I mentioned to him was his plans had two different road names. One was Sitkowski and one was Sitco Lane or something like that.
But he's not here, so.
Yeah, we can't discuss
discuss
that
it.
anymore.
right, I didn't know
So
if
we'll
this had
just-
anything to do with that other property we
Nope.
were talking.
So that update before you adjourn, I've talked to the town of Northborough town manager on that property, and it is being taken care of. So that's all we can say about it.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know if that was part of that.
Nope.
Okay.
You'll get that one soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, Dave.
Dave?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. All in
Second.
favor? All right. Good evening.
Thank you.
Bang the gap.